I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on quadratic relations. I've taken 7 word problems for you to practice, and I hope solving them will help you understand this topic fairly well. All these questions have been taken from previous test papers. Question number 1. If a person had walked 1 kilometer per hour faster, he would have taken 15 minutes less to walk 3 kilometers. Find the rate at which he was walking. Question 2. 2 water taps together can fill a tank in 6 hours. The tap of larger diameter takes 9 hours less than the smaller one to fill the tank separately. Find the time in which each tap can fill the tank. Question 3. A factory is to be built on a lot that measures 80 meters by 60 meters. A lawn of uniform width equal to the area of the factory must surround it. How wide is the strip of the lawn and what are the dimensions of the factory? Question number 4. The numerator of a fraction is 3 less than its denominator. If 1 is added to the denominator, the fraction is decreased by 1 over 15. Find the fraction. Question number 5. Tina bought some t-shirts for $80. If she had bought 4 more t-shirts for the same amount, each t-shirt would have cost $1 less. Find the number of t-shirts she bought. Question 6. Present age of father is equal to the square of the present age of his son. 1 year ago, the age of father was 8 times the age of his son. Find the present age of father. Question number 7. 3 consecutive integers are such that the sum of the squares of the first and the product of the other two is 46. Find the integers. So I'd like you to pause the video, copy these questions, try them out, and then look into my suggestions. I hope that works. Now let's look into these solutions one by one. Now let's solve question number 1. Now as we solve the questions, we'll also try to understand the strategies involved. You can apply those strategies for any question similar to the one we are talking about. Question 1. If a person had walked 1 kilometer per hour faster, he would have taken 15 minutes less to walk 3 kilometers. Find the rate at which he was walking. So this is distance, speed, time question, right? So a very common question which can always be seen in any test paper. Perfect. So the distance, speed, time should always be solved by making a table. We can put the information on a table, 3 columns being distance, speed, and time. Now we are given here that the distance is 3 kilometers, right? If a person had walked 1 kilometer per hour faster, so first the distance of 3 kilometers is being walked by some speed. Let's call this speed as x, right? Now the same distance, if the person had walked 1 kilometer per hour faster, means x plus 1. Do you see that? So that becomes your speed. Then the difference in time is 15 minutes. It would have taken 15 minutes less to walk, right? So in distance, speed, time, you should always remember that this particular triangle. Let me make one here. So distance, speed, and time. Now we can find time from distance and the speed. Time is ratio of distance over speed. So the time here is 3 over x. And in the second case, the time is 3 over x plus 1. So once you create this chart, then it is kind of very simple, right? So now let's form an equation. It says if a person had walked 1 kilometer per hour faster, right, he would have taken 15 minutes less. Now difference in time is how much? Difference in time is 15 minutes, which is in hours 15 over 60, or 1/4 of an hour. Do you see that? Now it is important to convert, since we are talking about kilometers per hour, right? So this distance is in kilometers. The speed is in kilometers per hour. So we have to write time also in hours. So that is the first thing. So I hope the information which we have recorded here is clear. Now it is a very simple equation. The difference of these two times, right? So this is more time, speed is less. So the difference is we have a 3 over x minus this time, 3 over x plus 1 is 1/4 of an hour. Correct? So that is how you could relate them. Now to solve, we can take common denominator. So let's multiply each term by 4x times x plus 1. Correct? So we'll get rid of fractions. Perfect. So we can do that. So this term will be 3 times 4 times x plus 1. It already has x here, right? So that x will cancel. The other term will be 3 times x times 4, right? So we can say x times 4 equal to 1 is going to be multiplied by x and x plus 1. So x times x plus 1. Does it make sense to you? Correct? Now we should just open the brackets and solve. So this is 12, right? So 12 times x is 12x plus 12 minus, this is also 12. So which is 12x equals to x squared plus x. We have to get all the terms together. Correct? We have to get all the terms together. Now, as you can see here, that minus 12x plus 12x cancel. So we get 0 equals to x squared plus x minus 12 as our equation. This could be factored 4 times 3, right? 4 positive. So x plus 4 times x minus 3. So that gives you x equals to minus 4 and x equals to 3 as possible solutions. Clearly, you cannot have this answer, right? So x plus 3 makes sense. Correct? You cannot have negative answer here. Therefore, we get x equals to 3 as our answer. And what is x? X is the speed at which, find the rate at which he was walking. So x is the speed at which he was walking, correct? If he would have gone 1 kilometer per hour faster, it would have been x plus 5. So that is very important, right? So the speed, we can say initial speed, right, was x equals to 3, means 3 kilometers per hour. Does it make sense to you? So that is how the question has to be solved. Now, any distance, speed, time question can be solved using this format. So make a table, distance, speed, time, plug in the values which you are given, find what you need to find using the expressions as we have done here, right? And the relation is distance is speed into time. Use this relation to get the answer. An answer should always be placed with units. Perfect. Let's move on to question number 2. Question number 2. 2 water taps together can fill a tank in 6 hours. The tap of larger diameter takes 9 hours less than the smaller one to fill the tank separately. Find the time in which each tap can fill the tank. Now let's define our variables. We know that the smaller takes some time and the tap of larger diameter takes 9 hours less. So we'll begin by defining x be the time in hours for smaller tap, right? So time for smaller tab be x, right? Then in that case, time for larger tab will be what? It takes 9 hours less, right? All are in hours, so it will take x minus 9. You get the idea. Now, whenever you're working with such questions where rate is involved, so the key strategy here is to find the rate. Rate is time taken to do 1 unit of job, right? So this is the complete job. So time for the whole tank to fill, that is 1 unit, is x. So what is the rate for this? So that means the rate for this is 1 over x. Do you see that? And what is the rate for the larger one? The rate for the larger one is 1 over x minus 9. You understand rate? So what we're trying to figure out here is that if the whole unit of tank is 1, right? So that is how we work it out. So the time for the smaller tab will be 1 over x, correct? That is the rate at which the smaller tab is filling, right? Together, they take 6 hours, right? So together, so rate of filling the tank together is, because it is filled in 6 hours, it is 1 over 6. Do you see that? So when they work together, then the rate is 1 over 6. Individually, the rate is 1 over x and 1 over x minus 9. So from here, you get your equation, right? So the equation in this case is 1 over x plus 1 over x minus 9. When they work together, it is done in 6 hours. You get the idea. So that is how we will always get the equation whenever you're working with work done. It could be painting a room, for example. So that will also be done with the same strategy. So find the time taken and then the rate, which will be 1 over the time taken, right? And then you solve the given equation. So again, we'll just cross multiply. So the strategy here is, in the numerator, we'll get 6 times x minus 9 for the first one. So when you cross multiply, we get 6 times x minus 9 plus, here we'll get 6x. Do you see that? And on this side, we'll get product of these two, which is x times x minus 9. So what did we do? We multiplied by the common denominator, 6x times x minus 9. So the whole equation, we times it with 6 times x minus 9. Do you see that? So it got cancelled. One factor, which is x, got 6 times x minus 9, and that is how you get your equation. And now you just expand this and simplify. Perfect. So that is how it should be solved. So let's expand. So we get 6x minus 54 plus 6x equals to x squared minus 9x. Now bring all the terms together. Keep coefficient of x squared positive. So 0 equals to x squared minus 9x. Here we have 6 and 6, which is 12. I mean, it is 9x, right? And here 6 and 6 is 12. So minus 12x plus 54. Correct? So that is what we get. Now we can combine these two and we get 0 equals to x squared minus 21x plus 54. You see that? So now we are going to solve this particular equation by factoring. So let's bring it together on this side. So I'll use a different ink now. We have 0 equals to x squared minus 21x plus 54. Now it is a question of getting two numbers which could multiply and give us 54 and as a product and sum as minus 21. How do we do that? So let's take 54 and find the numbers which could do the magic for us. 5 plus 4 is 9, so I could divide by 3. So 3 times 3 times 1 and we get 24, which is 18. Well, so when you multiply these two, you do get 54. And if I take both as negative, then we get minus 21. So that is how you are going to factor. So we get 0 equals to x, so minus 3 and minus 18, right? So x minus 3 times x minus 18. So x could be equal to 3 or it could be equal to 18, correct? So that gives you the answer, right? So x is 3. That means the time for smaller tab is 3. And for the larger tab, it is 3 minus 9. That doesn't work. So we have to take the answer which is 18. So this will be cancelled and this will be taken, correct? So you just test it out. What works best for you, correct? So one of them in quadratic equation may not be the right solution. The other one is. So for the smaller tab, so time taken by the smaller tab is 18 and it is in hours, right? So 18 hours. And time taken for the larger is 18 minus 9, which is 9 hours, correct? So that is how you are going to solve the particular question. Is that clear to you? Perfect. So that is the solution. So any question relating to rate, it could be work done, painting, mowing a ground, or tabs. It should be done in this fashion. Now let's take the next type of question. Question number 3. A factory is to be built on a lot that measures 80 meters by 60 meters. A lawn of uniform width equal to the area of the factory must surround it. How wide is the strip of lawn and what are the dimensions of the factory? Okay, so let's make a diagram here to reflect the situation. Let's say this is our lot, which is 80 by 60, and we have a factory right there in the center. Okay, so what we are doing here is that we are leaving on the sides a lawn. The area of this lawn is same as the area of the factory. That is given to us. Correct? So it says a factory is to be built on a lot that is 80 by 60. So let's say this is 80, all the units are in meters, and this is 60. Now here we have each side of x removed. In that case, the inside will be how much? So this area, the red one here, will be how much? Well, the width will be 80 minus 2x since we have removed x from two sides, right? These two sides. So this small area of the factory will be now 80 minus 2x, and this much will be 60 minus 2x, right? 60 minus 2x. Does it make sense to you? Since we removed this x and x from each side to maintain the lawn. So we get our diagram. Perfect. Now let's get the equation. So what we are writing here is how wide is this strip? So we're saying let this strip be strip x meter wide. Does it make sense? So that is what we have defined our variable. So let this. Now we are given the condition, that is a lawn of uniform width equal to the area of factory. So what is the area of the lawn? So area of the lawn has to be equal to area of the factory, correct? Now area of the lawn is the big area minus the factory area, correct? Big area minus the factory area, correct? So we can say area of the lawn is 80 by 60, so we get 80 times 60 minus the factory area is 80 minus 2x times 60 minus 2x, right? So 80 minus 2x times 60 minus 2x. That should be equal to area of the factory, which is 80 minus 2x times 60 minus 2x, right? Now that gives you a lot of big numbers to work with, correct? Now I'll show you in my calculation how do we work with simpler steps to work with, right? So it is 80 into 60 here. Let's keep this number here, 80 into 60 equals to, taking it this, these are two same things, all right? Area of factory and area of factory. So it becomes 2 times all this area, which is 80 minus 2x times 60 minus 2x, correct? No need to expand and then combine them. It is always good to work with the factored form. Perfect. Now, in 80 minus 2x and 60 minus 2x, we have 2 here common, 2 there common, right? So I could also write this as, so that means I get 4 common, right? Okay. So I could write this as 2 times 2 from here, right? So I get 40 minus x, and then 2 from there, so I'm writing 2 here, 30 minus x. Do you see that? So I factored out x from each factor. I got 8 here. Now this 8 can be divided into 80. We get 10. Do you see that? So what we could get here is 600 equals to this factor, which is 40 minus x times 30 minus x. Do you see it's much simpler equation to work with? Okay. Now, it's a quadratic equation. So let's expand this. Let me expand it here itself. 40 into 30. 4 times 3 is 12. So it is 1200. And then minus 40x. Then minus 30x. And then minus and minus means plus x squared. Correct. Okay, let's keep this separate. So that is clear, right? So we have 600 equal to all this. Let's bring that 600 to the right side. So we get 0 equals to, good practice to write x squared first, then these terms, which is minus 70x, and we have plus 1200 minus 600, correct? So which is x squared minus 70x, and that is plus 600, correct? So now coefficient is 0, we need to factor. 600 means 60 times 10, right? That makes 70 also. So we can write this as minus 10 times minus 60. Does it make sense to you? See how without calculator we work with these big numbers. Perfect. And using 0 multiplication rule, what happens? This could be 0, that could be 0. That means x equals to 10 and x equals to 60 is our answer, correct? Obviously, we have this side to be 60, right? So x has to be less than 30, right? It cannot be more than 30, correct? X has to be 0, greater than 0, less than 30. So this is not valid, but the other one is valid. So in all the 3 examples, what you notice is, rather in quadratic equations, we may get some answers which are extraneous, right? So we get x equals to 60 as the as not valid, and we get x equals to 10 as the valid answer, correct? So that is the valid answer. How wide is the strip of the lawn and what are the dimensions of the factory? So that is the question. So the answers are width of the strip is 10 meters and dimensions are 80 minus, so length is 80 minus 2 times 10, which is 20, gives us 60, and the width is 60 minus 2 times 10, so that is 40, right? So those are the dimensions. So our answer is width is 10 meters and the dimensions are 60 by 40 meters. Is that clear? So that is how you can answer questions based on geometrical figures where areas are involved. Perfect. Question number 4. The numerator of a fraction is 3 less than its denominator. If 1 is added to the denominator, the fraction is decreased by 1 over 15. Find the fraction. So we are saying that the numerator of the fraction is 3 less than denominator. So we'll begin with denominator. Let denominator equal to x. In that case, numerator will be equal to, it is 3 less than denominator, so x minus 3. Okay. So what is the fraction? So the fraction will be what? Fraction will be x over, so I mean x minus 3 over x, right? That becomes the fraction. Now it says, if 1 is added to the denominator, the fraction is decreased by 1 over 15. So 1 is added to denominator. So the other fraction is, in the denominator you add 1. So the other fraction is x minus 3 over x plus 1. So 1 is added in the denominator. Correct? So this is, 1 is added to the denominator. So we added 1 in the denominator. Then it says the fraction is decreased by 1 over, so the fraction is decreased. So this is lesser, right? So it is decreased by 1 over 15. Correct? So that means the difference in these two is 1 over 15. Correct? So we get our equation. Perfect? So we get our equation as this minus this is 1 over 15. So we have x minus 3 divided by x minus x minus 3 divided by x plus 1 is equal to 1 over 15. Perfect. So that is how it can be solved. Okay. Now let us see how to solve this kind of an equation. Whenever you have equation in fractions, you have to multiply by common denominator. So the next step to solve this equation is multiply by common denominator. That is to say, you are going to multiply this by 15 times x plus 1. Correct? Everything. All these three. So let's multiply and solve. So what do you get? So let's do it now here. I think this part is absolutely clear, how we made our equation. Now how to solve the equation. So when you multiply this term by 15x times x plus 3, x is already there, so the numerator should be multiplied by 15 times x plus 1. So what we get here is x minus 3 times 15 times what is not there in the denominator, x plus 1. Next, we get x minus 3 times x and 15, right? So let me write 15x equals to 1 gets multiplied by x times x plus 1. Clear? Now on the left side you see x minus 3 is a common factor. So if you take a common factor and then simplify, it becomes simpler. So we'll do that. So it's a good technique, right? We should learn how to do also as we move along. So x minus 3 I took common. So I'll do multiply with this. So it is 15x plus 15 here. And from here we get minus 15x. On the right side, when you multiply, we get x squared plus x. Is that clear? 15x and minus 15x cancel, so we'll just multiply this by 15. So we get 15 times x minus 3 equals to x squared plus x. Much simpler, right? So as you can see, this cancels, right? Plus and minus. So it is much simpler. Only by 15 we have to now multiply. And then we have to take all the terms to one side. So we get here 15x minus 45 equals to x squared plus x. Taking all the terms to the right, we get 0 equals to x squared plus x minus 15x plus 45. Clear? So this can be simplified further, and we could write this as x squared minus 14x plus 45. Now it is a quadratic equation. which you can easily simplify. So 45 is like 9 times 5. So we can factor this. So we can write this as 0 equals to x minus 9 times x minus 5. So we get two solutions here. One is x equals to 9. The other one is x equals to 5. Now, in quadratic equations, you have to always check your solutions. Which one is correct? So that is to say, when I substitute 9 here, do I get 1 over 15 as a difference? When I substitute 5 here, do I get 1 over 15 as my answer? This is what. So let us check. So let's check for x equals to 9 first. So if I write 9 here, I get 9 minus 3 over 9. And there also we get 9 minus 3 over 9 plus 1, 10. Correct? So this is 6 over 9 minus 6 over 10. So clearly what we get here is when you multiply, cross multiply, 60, so 6 is common, you can say, right? So you get 90 here, and 10 minus 9 is 1. You get 1 over 90. You do not get 1 over 15, right? So that is definitely not the right answer. Now let's write down the other answer, x equals to 5 here. So let's check for x equals to 5. So if I write 5, I get 5 minus 3 over 5 minus 5 minus 3 over 6. Now here the common denominator is 30, and we get here 5 minus 3, 5 minus is 2, right? So it is 2 times 6 minus 2 times 5, correct? So which is 12 minus 10, or is equal to 2 over 30, which is equal to 1 over 15. So that is correct. Is that okay? So the right solution is indeed x equals to 5. Perfect. So x equals to 5 is the right solution. So we need to find the fraction. So the fraction should be equal to what? So our answer is, we'll substitute 5 here. So 5 minus 3. So 5 minus 3 and over 5, which is, so the numerator, so we have this 5 minus 3 is what? 2 over 5, right? So we have 5 minus 3 over 5, which is 2 over 5. So the answer is 2 over 5. This becomes, when I write 5 here, 5 minus 3 over 5, which is 2 over 5. Is that clear? So the answer is 2 over 5. So that is how it should be solved. I hope it is absolutely clear. Let's move on and take the next question. Question number 5. Tina bought some t-shirts for $80. If she had bought 4 more t-shirts for the same amount, that is $80, each t-shirt would have cost $1 less. Find the number of t-shirts she bought, right? So let the cost be, we'll say let's the number of t-shirts equal to, let us say number of t-shirts is n, right? We don't know. And let cost be equal to, in dollars, x dollars, correct? Then what we are given here is that n times x is equal to 80. That is what we are given. So both have been bought for $80. Now the second condition which is given to us is, if she had bought 4 more t-shirts, that means the number is 4 more, n plus 4. For the same amount is $80. Each t-shirt would have cost 1 less. So the cost would have become 1 less dollar, right? And the amount is 80 only. So the equation is this times this is 80, right? So in this case, for the same amount, so when they say for the same amount, it means when you multiply these two, that is n plus 4 times x minus 1, you should again get 80. Do you see that part? So that is how you have to solve this particular equation. Correct? So I hope that concept is clear. So we need to now find the number of t-shirts she bought. Since we want to find number of t-shirts, we can actually use this equation to replace x with number of t-shirts, right? So what I'm going to do here is we have to find the number of t-shirts n she bought. So we'll write x as equal to 80 over n in this equation and solve. So I hope you got this strategy. So let us see how to solve it further. So we have our equation, which is n plus 4 times x minus 1 equals to 80. So if I multiply, we get n times x nx minus n plus 4x minus 4 equals to 80. Now nx, we could straight away write what nx is, right? Is 80, and n is 80 over, and x is 80 over n, right? So we could replace. So nx is 80, so I'm writing only 80 here, 80 minus n plus 4 times x. 4 times x means 80 over n, right? So I'm writing this as 4 times 80 over n minus 4 equals to 80. Is that clear? Okay. So that is how we get our equation. Now we can simplify this and write it as a quadratic equation. So first thing is, let's bring all the terms together, right? So we'll get all the terms together and multiply by n. So if I multiply by n, I get 80n minus n square plus 4 times 8 is 32, 320 minus 4n equals to 80n. Right? Now let's bring everything to the right side, since this n square is negative. So we have 0 equals to, we have n square, we have 80n minus 80n, they will cancel, plus 4n minus 320. Correct? So when you combine these terms, they cancel. We are left with 4n here. So we have 0 equals to n square plus 4n minus 320. Correct? Now we need to factor this. Correct? So we need to factor and get the value of n. So how do you get so what two numbers can be multiplied to give you 320 and 4? So that could be 16 and 20, right? So we'll just factor this. Let me rewrite this. 0 equals to n square plus 4n minus 320. So we're trying to factor 320. Right? 16 times 20. If you do that, you get 320, and when you add, then you get 4n, provided this is minus 60 and that is plus 20, right? So we could write this as n minus 16, bigger number is positive, n plus 20, correct? So from here we get two solutions. One is n equals to 16, the other one is n equals to minus 20. So you cannot have minus, so that is not valid. So the valid solution is n equals to 16, right? So this is the valid solution. So our answer is Tina bought 16 t-shirts. Is that clear? So that is how you are going to solve it. Perfect. So let's take the next question now. Question number 6. Present age of father is equal to square of the present age of son. 1 year ago, age of father was 8 times the age of his son. Find the present age of son. Since it is find the present age of son, we'll begin with let present age of son equal to x. Now it says present age of father is equal to square of present age of son. So present age of father will be what? X square. Perfect. 1 year ago, so if I see the scenario 1 year ago, so when I say 1 year ago, in that case son will be how old? Less 1 year, right? So son age will be x minus 1 and father's will be 1 less, right? X square minus 1. So 1 year ago, 1 year younger. Perfect. So 1 year ago, the age of father was 8 times the age of his son. So at this time, 1 year ago, father was 8 times. So you get your equation, which is x square minus 1 is 8 times x minus 1. Does it make sense to you? So it's kind of very important to get the equation, right? So in age problem, that is how you could do it. Now it is a simple question of expanding and simplifying, right? So open the bracket, so 8x minus 8, bring them together, x squared minus 8x minus 1 plus 8 equals to 0. And that is x squared minus 8x plus 7 equals to 0. And you can now factor this and get the answer. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 7 equals to 0. 7 times 1, so we'll have minus 7 times x minus 1 equals to 0. That means x could be equal to 7 or x could be equal to 1. So it cannot be 1, right? So it has to be 7. So the answer is son's age is 7 years. Perfect. So that is how the age problem should be done. And now let's take the last question of our series. Now we are almost at the end. Here is question number 7. 3 consecutive integers are such that the sum of squares of the first and the product of the other two is 46. Find the integers. So when we say consecutive, that means they come one after the other. So let the integers be x, the other one will be x plus 1, then x plus 2. Correct. Now the condition given to us is, let's use another ink, we'll write down the equation and solve it. Sum of the squares of the first, that is x square, plus product of the other two, so that is x plus 1 times x plus 2 is 46. So that is how you get your equation. Now let's solve it. So we have x square plus, when you multiply, you get x square plus 2x, plus when you do with 1, you get x plus 2 equals to 46. Bring them together. So we have 2x square, 2x plus x is 3x, plus 2, let me write like this only, and then we'll combine, correct? So we have 2x square plus 3x minus 44 equals to 0. Now we need to find product as of two numbers as minus 88 and sum of two numbers as 3. So what could be the numbers? Could be 8 and 11, right? And negative, positive is positive, and bigger number is positive, and minus 8. That could give you this, correct? So let's use this and factor to solve. So we have 2x square plus 11x minus 8x minus 44 equals to 0. Now x is common. We get 2x plus 11 here, and here we have 4 common. Negative 4, so we get 2x plus, this was 11, plus 11 equals to 0. Now 2x plus 11 is common. we get x minus 4 equals to 0. So this gives you x as minus 11 by 2, which is not an integer, and that gives you x equals to 4, which is correct, right? So that becomes our solution, x equals to 4. Now if x is 4, the three integers will be 4, 5, and 6, right? So the answer here is the integers are 4, 5, and 6. Perfect. So that is how you answer this particular question. So I hope you understand and appreciate how we can actually form equations and solve quadratic equation applications, correct? So we actually did 7 questions. We started with these, right? And completed the whole exercise. And that should give you a fairly good idea of how to work with word problems related to quadratic relations. Thanks for watching. Share my videos with your friends, and if you like and subscribe to them, that'd be great. All the best.